Okay. Welcome back. Now what we finished today, at the end of what we finished today, will be the end of the material for this quiz. We'll start off with chapter 19, list the 5 functions of blood, down to whatever it is that we cover in the next 15 minutes or so, okay? So let's take a look at, we talked about what limits the lifespan of the erythrocyte. It's probably going to be the change in the cell membrane structure. Some way this thing is identified or not identified as self, and is removed by the Kupffer cells, the large, I didn't give you that name, Kupffer cells. Doesn't matter, the large monocytes, macrophages, beg your pardon, large macrophages that line the sinusoids in the liver and the spleen. All right, and we talked about the recycling of that. So let's pick up with what is the function of the hematocytoblast? Well, if you turn the page right here, stages in red blood cell maturation, you're going to find some of the names of the stages in the red blood cell maturation process, okay? I'll ask you to learn 3 of those in just a few seconds. But let's look at the parent cell of the red blood cell. Now what we have right here is the red bone marrow, and I am on figure 19-6, red bone marrow, day 1 proerythroblast. But it does not address this subject of the hematocytoblast. If you'll turn to 680, somewhere in there, figure 1911. Figure 1911 on page around 680, you're going to see the hematocytoblast at the top of this page right here. Well, the hematocytoblast is the parent cell in the bone marrow for all blood cells. For all blood cells, not just the red blood cell line, the reds, the whites, the platelets, okay? So what's the function of the hematocytoblast? The parent cell for all blood cells. Now, if we turn back to figure 19-6, there's several different names, several different stages of development in the red blood cell line. I want you to pick 3 of those for me, please. You can start off with the proerythroblast, if you like, and end up down with the reticulocyte, the mature red. That would be all right, but I'd want something in between them, okay? So let's take a look right before we get to the erythroblast, erythrocyte. Now the cell right in front of the erythrocyte, it says mature red cell right there, is a reticulocyte. I want you to learn this reticulocyte, R-E-T-I-C. Reticulocyte is a cell that gives rise to the parent red blood cell. Now some of these will be in circulation. They have darker dots in them. All right? And the darker dots is a hemoglobin that hadn't quite matured yet. So you will have 5%, 7% reticulocytes. I want you to know this because this will be on a blood cell analysis. Retics. Okay? Now pick me a couple other lines, 3 other cell lines, 3 other cells before this right here. I don't really care which ones that you pick, but I do want you to know what a reticulocyte is. Okay? The substrates for erythropoiesis, remember erythropoiesis is the production of the red blood cell. It's no different than what the hell the thing's made of right there. I got to have iron, I got to have proteins for my globulin synthesis, and I got to be able to make my porphyrin ring. Those are the 3 substrates needed for red blood cell production. That's no surprise there. Now the intrinsic factor is related to a pernicious anemia, P-E-R-N-I-C-I-O-U-S, pernicious anemia. I want you to know that. But let me tell you about the intrinsic factor. It is produced by the stomach. It's needed for B12 absorption. B12 is needed for the protein synthesis. So a constant stomach irritation, inflammation of the stomach, a gastritis, can lead to pernicious anemia. That is anemia on the red blood cell line. All righty? I want you to know that also. How does the kidney monitor the number of red blood cells? Well, we know what the kidney produces. It produces EPO. EPO stimulates red blood cell production in the bone marrow. How does the kidney monitor the production of EPO? Well, when we talk about the kidney, we're going to talk about the glomerulus. We'll talk about the afferent arterioles that come through the glomerulus. Don't worry about that right now. But there's a certain pulsing of the cells caused by the systole movement of the heart itself. When the pressure builds up, systolic, 120, and it goes down to diastole. So this pulsing right here, this pulsing and this rate of pulsing right here has a certain rhythm to it. When the rhythm is abnormal, then the body is going to correct for it. if the rhythm is too slow, or if the rhythm doesn't distend the cells enough. That's probably more what that it is. When the volume of the blood is low, then the cells are not distended as much. Then the frequency of the action potential is not generated as much. In the kidney, this triggers the release of excessive EPO. So hypovolemia triggers the release of excessive EPO, which stimulates the bone marrow to produce more red blood cells. So think about the distension of the cells. We talk about baroreceptors. This is kind of a fancy baroreceptor. Okay, we know what that monitors. So when is erythropoietin released? Hypovolemia is one thing. Anemia and hypoxia. Anemia and hypoxia will cause the release of excessive EPO. Now we've got a certain standard amount anyway. We produce 1 million red blood cells over 1.3 seconds. 1 million red blood cells over 1.3 seconds. So we have a certain amount of EPO being released every second. Every 1.3 seconds anyway. So when we alter that, either increase it or decrease it, I doubt that we're going to decrease it. When we increase it because of the blood volume being low, hypovolemia, because of the lack of distension of the blood cells in the kidney, and that will stimulate EPO release. Okay? Now the RH factor, wait a minute, let me jump back here. Define hypoxia, we did that right there. Decreased oxygen to the tissues. Decreased oxygen to the tissues is hypoxia. Now blood doping, I figure that you know something about right there. So you take a look at blood doping right there, advantages and disadvantages of blood doping. You can read that in your text. List the types of blood. Blood types, we know what they are. We have A, we have B, we have AB, and we have O. Okay? Now, these are surface antigens. A red cell is a red cell is a red cell. On the surface of this red blood cell are certain shapes of carbohydrates that determine the types of blood. Well, just for the hell of it right here, I'm going to say that if my red blood cell has something that looks like an A on it, I've got type A blood. Same way with B blood. AB has both of them, A, B, A, and B. Type O has no surface antigen. Okay? Now, what I ask you about this right here is complications from a gluten. Now, when you're given the wrong blood type, then the blood type that you're given that's wrong is going to be attacked. It's going to be agglutinated. Once it's agglutinated, it's going to be precipitated. Once it's precipitated, the phagocytic cells of the body are going to attack it. All right? That is the problem with the wrong type of blood. But before we do that right there, who can give to whom? Type A can give to. Type A could give to. I want this as an example right there. Who could type A give to? Type A gives to. You can always give to yourself. You can always give to yourself. Type A. All right? Now, what about type B? Can type A give to type B? No, it can't. It's a different blood type right there. The cells will be attacked, they will glutinate, they will precipitate, and they will be phagocytized right there, okay? So if you put down type B, do this right here. What about AB? Yes, it can give to AB. It's got an A, it doesn't have the B. It's got the A, though. Type A can give to AB. Type O, no. Okay? So take a look at the blood types. Take a look at the universal donor and universal recipient. Include that in your discussion of this objective right here. Universal donor, one blood type can be given to any of them. Universal recipient, one blood type can receive any of them. All right? Universal donor, universal recipient. I'll be looking for that in your answer. Okay? Now, the RH factor is another surface antigen. Okay? RH factor. That's an H. You either have it or you don't. It's interesting, RH comes from the species where it was first discovered. It was discovered in a rhesus monkey, R-H-E-S-U-S, a rhesus monkey. Thank God it wasn't something else. But anyway, it was discovered in a rhesus monkey, and that's where we get the term from. Rhesus factor, RH factor. You have it or you don't. Okay? I'm A negative. I don't mind telling you that right now. All right? So looking at RH factor right here, what's the RH factor right here? I don't think I'll do I don't think I'll do the neonatal erythroblastosis, not just yet. I'm gonna hold off on that one. I will start with that one for your next quiz. So your quiz on this time, we'll go down through probably what is the RH factor, and that'll be it right here. So quiz chapter 19, quiz 5, I guess it is. So outline, list of functions, 5 functions of the blood, down through the RH factor, and that'll be your quiz on this. I'm gonna stop this now and get it uploaded, and email me that by Friday. Today is Monday. You've got plenty of time to do this. Thank you.